What you're about to hear is a creation of my own creepy story. If it is similar to another creepypasta that I have not heard of, it is purely coincidental, and I do not intend to slander or claim anyone else's work as my own. I would like to take the opportunity to thank 4 individuals for previewing a lot of my material for creepypasta, and these are Cookie82, Angel Masquerade, Chibi Danny Chan, and Nicky Mar Games. They have been very influential in helping me to fine-tune my creepypasta readings, which I've never done before. I'd like to also give a special call out to Rebel6. Check out her channel, and yeah, thank you everyone for your support. Now, bear in mind, this is the first piece of creative work I've ever done outside of school projects, so I'm a little nervous on this one. I hope you guys enjoy it, and enjoy your Halloween. I wanted to record this story before I feel it's too late, and as a warning to anyone who is a gamer, especially those who favour the RPG, be warned. I am a gamer. There's no two ways about it. I have loved games my entire life, from my youth to where I am now. Games of many kinds, strategy, action, adventure, particularly the RPG kind. I've always found myself enjoying the stories of bold heroes going forward to crush evil and bring peace back to the land, defend the land from demons, monsters, zombies, overlords, all of that kind of thing. And yet, in my impatience, there are very few that I ever actually finish all the way through. Save the land, rescue the princess, save the people, blah blah blah, all of that, because I would be taken in by the next adventure before I completed the first. Now you may think there's no harm in that, but trust me, I thought there was no harm in that either. How wrong I was. My latest adventures saw me working my way through the likes of Fallout, Skyrim, and the Tales series, Final Fantasies, you name it, I've been through them. Anyways, I was working my way through another RPG. It was getting into the evening, just a perfectly normal day. I think I was about a third of the way through this one I was playing, and I remember as the night was moving on, it was reaching the wee hours, getting close to midnight, and I thought, I'm playing this a bit long, better call it a night tonight. I heard a knocking on the door. Now, I live alone, so this wasn't anyone I knew. I figured that was a little bit strange. Who would be knocking on my door at this time? Anyway, I carefully went downstairs, made sure the chain was still on the door when I opened it, just in case. I mean, you never know who can be coming at your door at these hours. And opened the door. Wasn't anyone there. Not a sight. And yet, I saw on the floor a disc in a case. There was no writing on it, just a disc. Wasn't entirely sure what this was about, so I picked up the disc, went inside. I figured that was a little bit weird. Perhaps it was a misdelivered package or something. Maybe it was something sent to me by one of my friends. Maybe it was a bit of a practical joke, a prank, to wake me up in the wee hours of the morning. Anyway, I didn't think much of it, so I just took the disc to my room, left it on my table, decided to call it a night. Anyway, that night I had some strange dreams. Couldn't really fathom them though. I guess it must have been I've just been playing my latest game for too long. Sometimes happens, if you play games too much, you end up with some vivid dreams. I knew it wasn't a pleasant one. I kept having this feeling that there was just someone standing some like towering figure standing over in the distance. Just sort of looked over, and that's all I can remember of it. Anyway, morning arose, just like any other day really. I saw this disc, the one that I'd picked up the night before. Well, I figured I'd have a look at it. So I booted up my PC, popped the disc in, and had a look inside. There was very little on there, except for one program. It just said why.exe. I just wondered, what on earth is this? I mean, I had a up-to-date antivirus, so I wasn't too concerned about it. I figured I'll see what this program's about. Fired up the program, and what I saw was rather strange. What it said was, "Why haven't you come? Where are you? Why aren't you here? Why?" Then the program just shut off. That was it. Tried to open it again and it wouldn't open. It was a strange occurrence. I just wondered what that was all about. Anyway, I popped the disc out and put it back in just in case there was a disc read error. But when I put the disc back in, the file wasn't there anymore. It was just blank. Rather unusual and disturbing occurrence, but I figured it was a joke that had been played on me by someone. Anyway, I continued on my day as normal, playing my games, and night came again. This time I did have a rather direct nightmare. This nightmare in particular was rather disturbing. Again, I found myself just standing on a bit of a desolate wasteland. I looked around me and there was no life around, nothing. A few cracks in the ground, but nothing. I could see some spires in the distance. And also, towering above those spires was a large winged figure. Its back was to me. So I proceeded to look around some more, wandered around in my dream state. I found a cave, and inside this cave was just a solitary figure. Looked very malnourished. And I looked at them, and they turned and noticed me. And they just simply looked at me with a blank expression, saying, "Why? Why have you forsaken us?" I was a little bit taken back. I just said to them, "Forsaken you? How?" They didn't respond other than saying, "Why? Why have you forsaken us?" Their stare turned cold, lifeless, but they were still staring, as if their soul had left them, and they were just left as a husk. I turned to exit the cave. What I saw was the figure that was in the distance was now standing over this cave. Just looked down at me, cold eyes burning right into me, and that was it. The dream ended. I woke up in the morning in a sweat. What was that dream? What was that all about? Doesn't matter, it's just a dream. Dreams can't hurt me. They can't do me any harm. Anyway, I continued on with my day. Spotted the disc again on my bedside table. I popped it back in the PC one more time, just to see if there was anything on there. This time there was another file. This one said y.exe. I guessed it was the same as the last time, so I fired it up. And this time, what I saw could only be described as the most disturbing thing I've ever seen. It brought up a clip of a malnourished figure in a cave who looked upon me with a blank stare. Just said, "Why?" Then the video cut to static and closed. Tried to open the disc again, there was no files on it. At this point I was suitably disturbed, as you can guess. I decided to contact a couple of my friends, see if any of them knew what this was about, see if any of them had sent this disc to me as like a practical joke, because I was prepared to punch one of them in the face and say, "This is not funny, don't mess with me like this." But everyone I contacted said, "What are you talking about? We don't know anything about a disc. We haven't seen you for a few days." Since these are people I trust, I figured they would pretend the truth. So I just continued on with the day. Just carried on as normal. Night came. I was very apprehensive of going to sleep, but fatigue overcomes eventually. I drifted off, and I entered into another dream. This time I found myself in a forest. I could see in the distance a sort of red on the horizon. I figured it was just the sun setting or something, so I didn't pay much attention to it. I looked around as I usually do, but in the forest all I could see was just creatures. Not so much living creatures, just creatures. Not moving. It's like they were dead. But as I walked, their heads turned to me. All of them. Everywhere I went, where there was a creature there, lying there as if it should be dead, its head turned to me, fixed its gaze upon me everywhere I moved. I kept moving, trying to get away from their gaze, but as further I moved in, more and more faces gazed at me. Like the dream before, their gaze was soul-crushing, and yet lifeless. They never uttered a noise, never made a sound, just cold gaze. It was at this point that my head turned and noticed the red in the horizon, what I thought was a sunset. As I grew closer, it wasn't a sunset. It was actually a fire, forest fire. It started washing forwards like a massive tidal wave. It was indescribable at the speed this thing was moving. It was like someone had opened a floodgate, but it wasn't water, it was fire, just rushing forwards. I turned and decided to try and run, but as I started running, something grabbed my feet. It pulled me to the ground, dragged me down. I looked back, frantically trying to scramble forwards, just to see what was grabbing me. It was a pair of arms, attached to a torso, with a head, but no legs. I turned, trying to grab this thing's hands and try and release its grasp on me before this sea of fire washed forwards over us. But I couldn't get him off. I struggled, I screamed, just yelled, "Let me go! I need to get out of here!" But all this figure did was gaze at me and said, "Why? Why have you forsaken us?" As I kept scrambling, trying to get this thing off of me, the flames washed ever closer. I could feel the heat bearing down upon me. I could not get this thing off of me. And to all sides I kept looking, seeing what was going on, seeing if there was anything I could do to get away from this thing. All I saw was faces glaring at me with that cold stare. Just before the flames licked over us, all I heard was, "Why?" I awoke, cold sweat, thinking, what's happening to me? What's going on? What's all this about? I did not like what was happening. This had happened 2 times now. I was not happy. I saw the disc. I proceeded to break it, figuring if this thing was causing this, and perhaps destroying the disc will save me somehow. I proceeded to take it outside and get the biggest hammer I could find and smash it. Threw the pieces down the drain, hoping I can cleanse myself of this. Proceeded to go to my PC, fire it up and check my emails. Found in my inbox an unusual email. Sometimes you get spams like that. Opened it, and the largest letters that could fit on the screen, it just said, "Why?" I deleted the email, hoping that this was just someone messing with me. But then, as I closed the web page, I saw my background. It was no longer the Windows logo that it was before. It was just a tile setup, constantly saying "why" along it. Why? I freaked out. Turned off my PC. Turned it off. I couldn't stand it anymore. I figured I'd go and watch some TV for a little bit. Maybe that'll calm my nerves. I turned on the TV and there was static. I figured there might have been a dodgy connection, so I looked around the back. Everything was plugged in. As soon as I got round back to the other side of the TV, the screen showed something. It showed a forest, red on the horizon, and a figure, just a torso, arms, and head, staring at the screen. Say, "Why?" I immediately turned off the TV, trying to think, what's going on? Have I gone insane? Am I still dreaming? Is something wrong? I didn't want to sleep that night. after everything I'd just seen, I did not want to sleep. Something was torturing me. But fatigue overcomes all of us. My eyelids grew heavy, and I fell asleep on the sofa. As my vision readjusted in my dream state, I saw what looked like a ruined town, buildings destroyed, spots of blood through the streets and the walls, and there were bodies covered in blood, just in the houses and the streets, in the central square, a small pile of them, as if someone had just stacked them up, ready to be buried in a mass grave. I edged forward slowly, contemplating the horror of what was going on. As I moved forwards, I can only describe this as a shriek from one of the houses. I dashed towards the house to see what was inside. There was nothing inside at all. And yet, that was the most disturbing thing. There wasn't anything. There was no chairs, no tables, not even a body that would have indicated that someone was there. I turned back out to head back outside, and was confronted by what could only be described as the corpses I'd seen in the street. If some of them had body parts missing, they were still missing. Blood still soaked on them, but they were standing, or at least upright. Those that had arms raised them, pointed at me, just said, "Why? Why did you leave us? Why have you forsaken us? You did this to us. You left us." I couldn't understand what they meant. I didn't realise what was going on. Then I turned, and where the house was now just a figure clad in armour, carrying a flaming sword. He pointed the sword to me, raised it, and as he brought it down, I managed to move back, but he managed to just nick me on the chest. Enough to cut, but not enough to do major harm. As soon as he struck, I awoke, on the couch, in a cold sweat once again, thinking, these nightmares aren't going to stop. But there was one bone-chilling difference this time. There was a cut on my chest as I awoke. The same place where I had been struck before. I couldn't believe this was happening. But when I thought about it, the 3 places that I'd noticed, I recognised them. They were from some of the RPG games I'd played before. The games that I had never finished, never completed, just played up to a certain point and moved on to the next one. I started to panic, thinking, what's this all about? Why are these figures appearing in such a way? Why these locations? And then it dawned on me, why? The disc that I had watched that said why. Why was this happening? Or perhaps, why were they left? Why were they left to face the horrors? If it had been me in the real world, and someone had left us to our fate when they could have easily carried on, would we not also seek vengeance on them for leaving us abandoning us to our suffering. I threw those thoughts aside, thinking I must have just been going mad. I decided to turn on the TV once more, just to see if I could calm my nerves a bit. I was faced with static once more, and I realised that I was going to be faced with what I'd seen in the nightmare, so I prepared myself. And when the static cleared, I was surprised. There was not the dream anymore, not the dream state that I'd seen. It looked like I was at a 90-degree angle, kind of like that scene you first see in Skyrim, where you're brought to the chopping block, and before the chopping block you're brought down to it to have your head removed. Now normally in Skyrim, when this happens, just before the axe comes swinging down, the dragon will come and stop the event. However, this time that did not happen. No dragon came. The axe came down, swift, and removed the head. Then the TV cut to static, and then the static cleared again, saying, "Why? You forsaken us. Now, payment." Then the TV shut off. I was aghast. So afraid. I could not believe what was happening. How is it possible that in-game characters could... This is impossible. It just doesn't make sense. I frantically dashed around. I locked the doors, locked the windows, just in case someone was coming to get me. I didn't sleep that night. I managed to stay awake, at least for the vast majority. When it was reaching the early hours of the morning, I drifted off. When I drifted off, I could see myself at a 90-degree angle on a block. A large man carrying a great axe was standing over me. I looked to the side and I saw people with blank stares looking at me, pointing, saying, "This is your payment." Turned back and the axe was raised, but before it could be brought down I woke up. Just before the axe was brought down upon me, I then realised what was coming for me. Bolting the doors, locking the windows wouldn't protect me. Not anymore. Because they were getting me in my dreams when I was asleep. They were coming for me. Those I had left behind. Those who I had forsaken and left to their fate. It's only a matter of time before I drift off again, and I may not wake up in time. So I leave this message to you to say that when you pick up a game, be sure you finish it, because otherwise you may be visited, you may be judged, they may come for you too.